Hello, my name is Christine. I am the QIDP for Employment Services here at RCal. And today we are going to be going over Zoom etiquette, I like to say, or tips on how to best conduct yourself during a video conference. So there are many platforms for video conferencing other than Zoom. There's Google Meets, Google Hangouts, WebEx, RingCentral, but all of these things you can apply the same concepts for how you handle yourself and how to be appropriate. So today we're going to go over the etiquette and manners one should use while on a professional video conference. These can include staff meetings, virtual networking events, job interview, employment trainings, or basically any conversation that you are having with a school, business, organization, agency, etc. So we will be reviewing testing audio and your video, proper camera placement, appropriate attire, appropriate background, muting and unmuting and turning your video on and off, and how to appropriately ask questions when you need to do so. So first, let's review testing audio and video. Zoom has a test you can do ahead of time. You can type in the link zoom.us/test. Make sure you click allow to allow the computer to have access to your microphone and your camera. There's usually other links with the other platforms as well. If you go to their home website, you should be able to find a link for that. In terms of camera placement, you want to face the camera directly. You don't want the camera to be too close, but you don't also want to be so far away where people feel like they have to scream at you to get their message across. Shoulders should be up, and you should have a background that isn't overly distracting. It doesn't have to technically be completely neutral and boring, but there shouldn't be a messy bed behind you or piles of dirty dishes. You want to have a nice, clean environment. It could even be like what's behind me, artwork, plants. Sometimes it could be a nice icebreaker to have some things behind you. It can encourage conversation. Other people on the call can say, hey, I like that painting, and can kind of spark some camaraderie within the group to talk about the background. Also, you can have fun and you can use one of the Zoom backgrounds and have the beach behind you, or you could be in outer space. Just nothing that's overly distracting where everyone on the Zoom call is gonna lose their attention because they're so fixated on your background. So as I said before, you don't want the camera to be too close where it's like right in front of your face. This might be a little too close for comfort. You don't want to be too far away because people still, it's hard enough as it is. We're isolated and we have to use technology. People still want to feel a sense of closeness. So being relatively close to the camera is a good thing, not sitting too far back in the room. So what should you wear when you're on a Zoom call? Well, you should wear something that is visibly clean. It doesn't really matter if it smells good because no one's going to smell it, but it should be clean. No spaghetti sauce stains, no coffee stains, no holes in your shirt. Wear something nice and presentable, clean and crisp. And you don't want to wear anything inappropriate like a graphic or a curse word, or you want to keep professional attire. Even though you're not in the office, you still want to pretend as if you are in the office. So wear an appropriate outfit. While you are on a Zoom call, it's very important to be conscious of whether your audio and or video is on. So we will review what those symbols look like. As you can see on your screen, that top image means that the audio is on, and then when you see that bottom image, there's an X. That means that it is off, or you are on mute. I think it's a good rule of thumb to just start off on mute. Then if you're invited in to say something, but just to prevent background noise, and an echo effect, I think it's a good rule of thumb to just start on mute, and then as the instructor or whoever is leading the meeting, just wait for them to give guidance on whether you can unmute, whether you need to check in the chat box or raise your hand. Each meeting kind of has its own style depending on what's going on. I've been on some calls where you don't see anybody on the screen, you just see the presenter. And then there's other calls where you see everybody and nobody turns their audio off. And then that can be very distracting. So just be conscious of when your audio is on, be conscious of, are you sipping your coffee really loudly? Are you chewing on popcorn? Is your dog barking in the background? All of these things that might not be bothering you in the moment could be bothering the rest of the crowd on the Zoom call and could be very distracting. Because usually the way these things are set up, when the Zoom call picks up on audio, it shows where the audio is coming from. So there could be a presenter and then you're chewing your popcorn, and then all of a sudden the focus is on you chewing popcorn, and then that's taking away from the presenter's presentation. So you just want to be mindful of the mute button. It's also important to pretend that you're at work. Sometimes we think we are on mute, and it turns out that we are not. And that is very embarrassing. So you never want to put yourself in a position where you're saying something unprofessional, or you're cursing, or muttering under your breath something negative. Just pretend that you are in the office and that everyone can hear you. Another thing to mention is just because your camera is off does not mean that your audio is off. So I've seen it all. I won't get into details, but keep that in mind. Just because people can't see you doesn't mean they can't hear you. So make sure that if you do have to get up and leave temporarily, turn your video off and turn your audio off so that no one can see or hear what you are doing. So this is what the symbol for video looks like. This would mean that it's on. If there is an X or a line drawn through it, then you'll know that that's off. And also you can just test your screen, and if the screen goes black after you hit that, you will know that it worked. So that is a good thing. Some virtual events may ask that you turn the video off for the whole time. It really just depends on what's going on, and just pay attention to what the instructors tell you to do. Each call can be really quite different depending on what's going on. For most professional webinars that I've been on, we are asked to leave it on because they want to know that we were there and weren't just doing our dishes or chores. They want to make sure that you're there and present so that you can get the credit that you need. So you might be asked to leave it on. So just, again, be mindful of your background, be mindful of your outfit, make sure you're not wearing pajama pants. Still look professional, because you never know. You might accidentally forget that you didn't turn it off. So it's very important to be mindful of yourself at all times. So as I mentioned before, each webinar, Zoom meeting is different depending on the context, what's going on, who you're talking to. So each meeting has its own set of rules. So some hosts may ask you to use the raise your hand feature. Instead of just unmuting and shouting at the camera, there is a raise hand feature that you can hit on that, and the little hand will come up in your window. And then the host will know whether to call on you or not. Some hosts ask that you type your questions in the chat box and that you don't unmute and speak, and then they will address it as they go along. Or the host may just say, hey, shout at me when you're ready. It all depends on what they want and the rules that they put forth in the very beginning. Usually before every webinar of some sort, there's some kind of housekeeping slide where they go over all these things so that you know what's expected of you. Well, I hope that was helpful for you. Please check out the other videos on our YouTube page and have a wonderful day.